stable coins. Not much has changed in crypto. I've seen a little bit of a pop here in Bitcoin implied volatility. So obviously you're going to get a little bit of a larger move. Still has that relatively strong inverse correlation to the dollar as expected. IV rank at 12. Bitcoin market dominance of 50%. And, Bitcoin over the last month has underperformed against the S&P, has underperformed against the NASDAQ. So there have been other places to go on a relative basis.
Yeah, but it's not really underperform. I mean, it doesn't really have much of a correlation to, it has a negative 0.56 correlation to the US dollar, but what's the correlation to the S&Ps?
Right now it's minimal. We were at
it's like zero, isn't it?
Low.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. But I guess if you just look at your marginal dollar, right? If you were long Bitcoin, you missed out on the opportunity, I suppose, being long the S&P. So that said, there's a lot going on in the world of stable coins recently. I think you guys covered this already on the show. But PayPal, clearly one of the world's largest payments giants or providers, has announced the launch of a stablecoin. I want to talk about stablecoins a little bit, explain how they work, the different types of stablecoins, the role that they play. But what do you make of a huge payment giant like PayPal launching a stablecoin? I mean, is this just further?
Can't be bad.
First of all, it can't be bad, exactly. But I don't really have a lot of confidence in PayPal doing anything. Like they tried to launch a brokerage site and they failed.
400 million users.
I know. They tried to launch brokers. They failed. There's a lot of things about PayPal that they're just not very good at. I doubt that stablecoins through PayPal are going to be very big. I'm just giving my honest 2 cents.
Okay.
But I applaud them for trying to do something different.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I think it further, it's along the same lines of BlackRock ETF filing. It further legitimizes crypto. Maybe I think it's legitimate, but I'm sure there's many people that don't believe this is real. I think it further legitimizes it. We'll have to see, I think, to your point, is it successful? We'll talk about that in a second when we look at the market for stable coins, because there's a lot out there, but there's only a few that really are the market for stable coins. It's very concentrated in that sense. Is there anything else behind it?
Do you think people are still a little leery of stable coins?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I think while they serve a purpose, they play a key role in the crypto ecosystem. When we look at what happened with the US dollar stablecoin and the Silicon Valley Bank and kind of the banking crisis that emerged, the mini crisis that emerged in March, you haven't seen a recovery, and I'll show you what I'm talking about in just a second. But do you think there's anything else behind PayPal's stablecoin issuance? Is this an adoption of technology, or is it more of just a way to, gather balances that you're going to get 5% from treasuries on?
Oh, no. Everything PayPal does is to accumulate assets. They're all about assets under control. There's nothing else to it. Like PayPal wouldn't do one thing if it wasn't about gathering assets.
Well, then I guess that's the business, and it's
I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm just saying
right now.
I'm just saying that don't look at PayPal as like they don't have very good technology, and they don't have really good like creative. They don't have a really good creative vision or anything like that. They're just, hey, you know what? They just look at this as another opportunity it's good PR. Look, they got in front of everybody, and it's just, an extension of kind of existing features they have. I mean, the stock hasn't even moved on this news.
Yeah, I think for now, when you look at this news on its own, probably not a huge driver of the stock price, but I'm super excited about it. I think that you're going to see adoption here. The market's still relatively small.
How could Tasty have a stablecoin adoption?
Well, we have to launch a stablecoin. We're going to have to get on that. There's some regulations that you might have to work through in order to get there. So if we could just jump back to the first slide. Let's jump into stable coins for just a second. So obviously we've talked a little bit about PayPal launching a stable coin. I think that's huge for crypto, and I think it's big for PayPal as well. But for anybody that's not familiar with what we're talking about, this is a token that's simply just trying to provide a store of value. That's the idea behind it. Doesn't always work perfectly, but it's a store of value, or maybe a better way to look at this is a way to remove volatility when you think about cryptocurrencies, because this token on a blockchain is pegged to a fiat currency. That's what our conversation is going to focus on. You could, in theory, peg any token to a basket or an index and argue that it's stable against that index. But when we talk about the crypto ecosystem, this is about just removing volatility so that you don't really have to go off chain. I have liquidity, but I don't have to go back into the banking system, get back into fiat currency. I have a pegged token.
Yep.
And so that's what we're talking about. But there are a few different kinds of stablecoins that exist. I think there's positives and negatives to each one of these. Maybe some are a little bit more favorable than others. If we jump to the next slide, you got three main types. We're going to talk about fiat collateralized here, but you have stablecoins that are backed by crypto. You have stablecoins that are managed by an algorithm. Probably the most well-known, infamous stablecoin that was algorithmic was the Terra USD, or US dollar Terra, or Terra US dollar, excuse me. We know that blew up $60 billion, quite a disaster, and really what might have been the first domino to fall in what was a series of just terrible events throughout 2022. But we're going to focus on fiat stablecoins such as USDC from Circle, USDT from Tether, and now PYUSD, which is PayPal's stablecoin. So if we jump to the next slide, I've kind of already mentioned that this is a key part of the crypto ecosystem because it simply just allows you to gain liquidity on chain. I don't think you would see the growth in DeFi or even really the growth in crypto if you didn't have this mechanism. I mean, do you think that crypto can continue if you don't have stablecoins, if they were to be regulated away? I don't think that's a possibility, but there is regulation that's on the table.
Yeah, I think it could continue.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think because I think that I view crypto as a technology play, and so yeah, I mean it could, but I don't think you're going to see that happen because the market cap is.
I mean, you don't think you have to worry about it?
I don't think you have to worry about it. I mean, it's only $100 billion, the whole market cap for stablecoins. It's not that big.
Yeah, I guess if stablecoins go away, you don't lose the value transmission mechanism. Bitcoin clearly serves that purpose. Any other token in theory could serve that purpose. But I think with stablecoins, I tend to view those more as your crypto payments rail in a sense. And you're seeing more and more companies look at USDC for funding purposes. I think you're going to see this play a larger role. And maybe you'll get to a point where people won't know, nor will they care, in the same way that when you scan your credit card, you're not thinking about how is this transaction being processed.
I mean, it's such a small market. I think the biggest issue is just credibility, is faith, it's trust in the system. I mean, that's all it is. It's just, it's just trust thing.
Absolutely. Well, let's talk about where you might lose some of that trust, some of the risks that exist.
Yeah, so there's always a gimme with a gotcha.
There is. So here we go. Really small in the grand scheme of things. But for everybody, maybe to balance this out, if you're not, again, familiar with this, what are the risks to stablecoins? They do, again, play a huge role in the ecosystem, but they can depeg. We've seen that a couple times.
But how do they depeg if they're one for one?
So essentially you get a marketplace that comes to the realization in some cases, or maybe just the belief that these aren't backed by what they claim.
They say they're backed by. Then isn't that more like fraud?
Yeah, there's a lot of things.
Okay, well then that's the problem. So then why are they called stable coins?
Well, the idea is that
they should be unstable coins.
Yeah, right.
They could become unstable coins, but I think the idea, right, is that they're going to be stable relative to a fiat currency. But if
I understand that, but unless that fiat currency doesn't really exist, like how do we know that I would trust PayPal more than maybe Terra or something, but I don't know, how does anybody know any of this stuff? And then why would somebody, what's the point of, why would you buy a stable coin?
Well, right now you wouldn't, I don't think that you're going out there and you're saying, I'm going to buy this because I'm going to generate some yield off of it or there's any upside to it. It's just simply, let's say I have Ethereum on chain.
Yeah.
And I want to sell that, or at least turn it into dollars in some form or fashion. So I can transfer that to an exchange and I can sell that Ethereum for
whatever.
anything, right?
Right.
But primarily US dollars, let's say fiat currency.
Okay.
If I want to stay on chain, I can use a decentralized exchange and I can sell that Ethereum for a stablecoin. Now, a token that presumably is going to be backed by dollars or any other fiat currency. There's some euro stablecoins. But now I have that liquidity, I have that ability, but I can still stay on chain without incurring network fees or sending it back to a centralized exchange.
Right. So the only reason you would use it is so you don't incur the fees.
At this point.
Yeah.
And that's why.
Okay. So, but I'm saying,
earlier,
but there's a ridiculous amount of risk for not incurring the fees. I mean, the fees are what? 10 basis points, 20 basis points?
Yeah, I mean, if you were going to send Ethereum to a centralized exchange, you're not going to pay that much. Maybe it's $1 to transfer, a couple dollars to transfer.
Okay, so I still don't understand then why is there so much money going into, into something where it's not so secure?
Well, I think it's because of the efficiency gained in that here you have this decentralized and very nascent financial system, but the world of DeFi, it needs this, and you need that liquidity mechanism, I suppose, in order to function. Without that, that's why I asked earlier, do you think you would still see the growth of DeFi? I would argue that maybe not. I mean, this plays such a key role. There are some risks, but it does take these outlier events, like anything, to really expose how fragile the system potentially is. Most of the time we're not thinking about that. But if you go back to what happened with USDC, and if we just jump to the next slide, we can put some context around this when we look at the numbers. But in March, and there was a trading opportunity here too. Everybody made about 10% that put this trade on. But again, there is risk. But in March, Silicon Valley Bank fails. Well, Circle, the company behind USDC, has a few $1 billion at SVB. And there's a fear that that's going to be wiped out. It's gone. And this is before the term funding program and the feds come in and fix all the problems.
Okay.
But that's where you get these situations where it's an outlier and, now it's been exposed. But has been resolved. And kind of when you looked at it too, in the middle of this, it's like, well, wait a second. Once you start to do the math, you realize that relative to how much capital is there, and where this is trading versus other stablecoins in the market, you start to realize that maybe this has gone a little bit too far. There's a bit of an overreaction. Same thing you'd see, in any market, right? And so those sorts of things can happen, but there is a risk, like USDT, Tether, $83 billion market cap, to my knowledge, has never submitted an official audit to a recognized third party. So there are some questions around what's
So just the friends and family took a look at it?
It's tough to say, It's probably not dollars, so you have short-term treasuries or bills. You might have some commercial paper in there, but it's kind of tough to say.
Who controls that?
These are companies, for the most part. So yeah, I mean, I'm not saying that there shouldn't be a healthy degree of skepticism here. It's still really early. Market cap of the whole thing is 126, but the market cap of the top 5, and this is getting back to the PayPal piece at the beginning. We'll see how that grows and how this ecosystem expands. Very small right now, but controlled by the top 5. Bernstein thinks that the firm thinks this could be a $3 trillion market in the next 5 years.
Bernstein's an asset collector too, aren't they?
Yeah.
Sure.
And why do they think that?
I just saw the headline. I don't know. I'll have to pull up the article, but this came out yesterday. I think CoinDesk might have reported it.
Because why not?
They've done their analysis.
Why not?
I don't know. I think 1 year out is hard to predict. 3 years, 5 years is impossible. But I think their point is that this is going to be a lot bigger than
because they're market makers. They're making markets.
So just to give everybody an idea of where we are, there's really just 2 major players here at this point. And DAI is not necessarily a fiat collateralized stablecoin. That's a crypto collateralized. But US dollar Tether, 83 billion. It's grown quite a bit. USDC, since that depegging momentarily in March, its market cap has dropped about 50%. So these real world events do have an impact, and it has yet to recover. I think Circle's doing a lot of interesting things, but we'll see what happens there. I think largely you just need the growth of the ecosystem. That said, maybe to wrap things up, because I haven't gotten your views, I don't think, on this yet. Do you think that this whole system eventually gets replaced by a government-run stablecoin, a Fed coin or US, whatever you want to call it? But the dreaded
China?
central bank digital
China?
currency. Yeah.
Well, I think that's.
Say something, damn it.
I think that's in all likelihood, that seems to be the most reasonable outcome. The outcome that I would probably bet on. I mean, I would bet that's kind of the chalk,
right,
as far as the betting side. I just don't think. I'm not sure how much this business, what kind of legs it has, unless if there's government backing.
Yeah. Then
all of a sudden the game changes, and then I think that it's got legs. I've never used this product myself, so I don't have that same kind of feel. I don't really know. Tony, have you ever used stablecoin?
No.
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 Oh boy.
I still prefer to bury mine in the backyard like every good Italian.
I don't know, Ryan. I have to think I can't. Until I can figure out how I can use something.
Yeah.
I really have trouble. With figuring out what the use case is, and I haven't figured this out yet. But it took me a while to figure out digital assets. It's taken me a while to figure out lots of things. So I'm not obviously not that bright when it comes to some of this stuff. But I haven't figured out the stable coins.
Okay. Well, with a central bank digital currency, like let's say that the U.S. government, the Federal Reserve, the Treasury is participating on chain in some capacity.
Yeah, sure.
Right. I think that's a huge win. It's the most legitimate.
Are stable coins bullish for coin, the stock?
I think if you see it all just depends on if this ecosystem grows, if this technology is adopted, which it's clearly growing, it's clearly being adopted year over year by more and more people, more and more businesses, et cetera. So I think this is all bullish for Coinbase.
Sure,
Coinbase,
for the industry.
To an extent, some might argue has an existential crisis on its hands. I don't think so. It's going to take years to play out here. But Coinbase is really the biggest and is the only player in some regard on a global basis relative to Binance. You just don't have any firms that are in this space yet.
You can't.
And
you can't.
So we need that.
But you can't.
Right.
Better question. The next 36 days, can it stay between 80 and 110? It's 88 right now because that's my strangle. So I have the 80, 110. Can it stay?
Yeah,
Thank
absolutely.
you. Thank you. That's all I really needed to know. Appreciate that.
And bullish.
I'll keep it all the way into expiration.
If you're long coin stock, it's going up. Obviously.
Fine. Thank you. Appreciate it. Appreciate it.
But
Thank you.
This is it's an interesting discussion, but I don't see where the trade is here. Like that's what he's trying to get at.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Like what's the trade? Like we don't, we only care about the trade.
Yeah, I think the trade, as you see more and more of these headlines pop up, whether it's some made up, multi-trillion-dollar market cap number years out, or it's more of your traditional financial services or your fintech firms adopting this technology. I think the macro trade is to just be long crypto. And I think you look at that from a market cap perspective. You hold Bitcoin, you hold Ethereum. At times, if we see a more robust options market develop in there, and there are some ways to trade that, but you sell puts in there. I think you trade the vol because you have to have this longer term view. I think that these things are in their beginning stages and are going to go higher. And I think when you look,
it's tough to bet on crypto because you think stablecoin's going to pick up market cap.
Oh, absolutely. But I think if you're seeing that the size of USDT goes from 83 billion to 500 billion, that means a lot of other things clearly happen along the way that were very positive for digital assets, for crypto. And I think now, today, in my view, the firms that are adopting this, that are a bit ahead of the curve, they're going to make mistakes. It doesn't mean the stock price is going to go up because they make an announcement, but these are the ones that are positioning themselves for that paradigm shift, and that's the trade. Who's going to be there when that technology shift is finally realized and adopted by the larger part of the world?
Okay.
And it's happening. So we can leave it at that, or we can dig deeper into central bank digital currencies.
Ooh, maybe next time. I got a market measure I want to get to right now. I can't.
Nothing is less interesting to me in the whole world than central bank digital currencies.
Oh, bummer.
Yeah, I'm not saying like
on his birthday, you treat him like this?
No.
Give him a gift for crying out loud.
Ryan. Like I love the whole digital asset space. I love Web3. I'm so much more bullish on that space than I am because I get it. At least I think I get it more so than I get like AI and all that kind of stuff. But like the stuff that I can't really trade or the stuff I can't really play, like stablecoins,
For sure.
I don't care as much. And like central bank participation, just to me, doesn't get me going.
Oh, I agree. I like the CBDC conversation because people are so fearful of it. Just because, you look at a communist government like China and how they abuse some powers or abuse some technologies, and then everybody just assumes that our government's evil and is going to do the same thing.
Sure. Once the politicians find a way and figure out how to get a position in it, then we can get stable coins.
They're not.
That's the trade.
Our government's not evil. They just don't understand it.
They don't understand, right? I didn't know, right?
It's not even that they don't understand. They don't.
Ignorance of the law.
No, it's not ignorance. It's. I shouldn't say they don't understand it. They understand it. They don't
Not a defense.
understand the consequences of stuff that they can't control.
Sure, absolutely.
That's all it is. It's all about control. It has nothing to do. Like in China, it's all about control. In the U.S., it's all about control. Everybody wants control. And they can't understand the consequences of decentralization without control. That's all it is.
Well, if you want control of your crypto, download our self-custody wallet, and you are in control.
Beautiful. I'll leave it right there. We'll take a quick 90-second break and come back. We got a market measure next, and happy birthday to you,
show
Ray.
me how to do some Discord, and we're business.
I'm dancing all day.
Hey, are you guys doing like webinars and stuff on Discord?
Can we wait? Oh, you...
No, it's fine. We can go. Yeah.
Okay.